last week, something relatively amazing was happening in the realm of professional wrestling.
Really?
And I am, of course, talking about the Total Deletion.
Oh, boy, yes.
And the way this was being touted,
okay,
I think it was expected to just be this hokey, corny nonsense.
Yeah, the final deletion.
And lo and behold, a lot of people watched it. The TNA ratings went up remarkably.
Yeah, let's clarify that this is actually what aired on TNA or Impact Wrestling Broadcasting, like on their show.
Right. And, you know, I watched the damn thing and I said, these guys are putting in an effort to do something.
It was something different.
And
I'll definitely say that.
And it was by no means bad.
It was bad, but I was entertained the whole time, so does that really make it bad?
You know, here's the thing. I was watching it with the expectation of it's going to be in that it's so bad that it's good category. But, I mean, yeah, there was some cornball shit in it, but wrestling is cornball shit in general.
But I think, like, this was deliberate cornball shit. See,
here's really hard to say.
Right, well,
you're dealing with the Hardy Boys.
I've been casually seeing... just through like Botchamania and talk on the internet of this angle that's been going on between Matt and Jeff Hardy and this crazy whacked out character that Matt's doing right now, broken Matt Hardy, whatever the fuck he calls it, right?
Well, let's stop there for a second.
Okay.
You just hit the nail on the head. This character that he's doing,
right? Good
for him. He's a professional wrestler, and he's been Matt f***ing Hardy. Yeah. Or Matt freaking Hardy, as Heyman once called him.
Right.
For, like 20 years now? Yeah. Like, God forbid the guy does something a little bit different than he's been doing for the last 20 years. He gets all this flack on the internet.
I still don't like him, but
you don't have to like him.
I put respect on his name.
Listen, Bill Cosby is a scumbag motherfucker, but you go back and watch the Cosby Show. It's a great television extravaganza.
Ruby!
But...
That was my Bill Cosby.
So that okay. So continue. Matt Hardy's character.
So what I'm saying is, I've seen these clips and some of the segments that they've had on Impact Wrestling week to week here and there, and I'm watching it, and it's bad. It gets a poor reaction. Matt Hardy is being ridiculous, and it's just the whole thing is silly nonsense. And they showed that contract signing video that they made. And I was like, wow, this seems like a lot of overhype for something so stupid and something so ridiculous. And I wasn't buying into it at all. I'm like, this is like bottom of the barrel now for TNA. And it wasn't until I saw this 15, 17-minute thing that they filmed, little short movie, if you will, that they filmed, that I really started to appreciate it and see it for what it is. When you watch it in the context of the pro wrestling show that we're used to, that we expect, and you see them in the ring with that production value, it comes off so stupid, right? But when you watch it as just some little, like, dumb little film, like, to get, you know, all together, kind of like as it is on its own, you start to appreciate it. You see, how can I say it? Like, you see Matt purposely being ridiculous, and you see the comedy in it. Like, the lines that he throws out there. Because there's no way he's saying that stuff and thinking that it's supposed to be serious and epic. Like, you could tell it's tongue-in-cheek. You could tell that it's meant for comedy.
I mean, comedy, it's one thing to call it comedy, but, it's wrestling. He's a villain in wrestling. Mm. So there's some comedy to it, but, there's some degree of taking it that he's the villain and Jeff Hardy's the hero.
Yeah, of course.
So... I don't want to do a play-by-play of what happens in the video, but suffice it to say, it's including a lead-up into the match. And the match, it's filmed, there's cinematography. It isn't just they're in an arena and there's different camera angles. It's filmed like a movie.
No, it's very choreographed, highly choreographed spot for spot, just filmed like a movie, different angles and whatnot. There's some continuity errors. One thing that was glaring. Did you notice this? How Jeff jumped out of a tree trying to do a swanton bomb onto Matt, who's laid across a ladder?
Right.
And Matt moved out of the way.
Right.
And Jeff hit the ladder, like holding his back, seemingly, selling it like he was hurt and he was down and out. And the camera cuts, and the very next thing is Jeff crawling over to Matt to pin him. When all Matt did was move out of the way, like he was fine.
Yeah, I thought I'd imagine that after I saw it. I was like, oh, he must have hit that move, but I guess you saw the same thing I did.
I watched it 3 times.
Right. But, suffice it to say, it was entertaining.
Yeah.
It told a story. It was different. It boosted TNA's ratings for that week. Everybody was talking about it. When was the last time everybody was talking about TNA?
When Hogan joined in, 2010.
Right. So... there's that. And fast forwarding now to what I was ultimately going to get at and getting closer to my point. So the Wyatts invite the New Day to their compound. And they accept.
Film segment, yeah.
Right. And
last night,
the rumors that I actually saw on the internet, the rumors throwing around that this was going to be like their version of that the WWE was probably doing anything you could do, we could do better.
That's what it seemed like. It was pretty obvious that that's what they were trying to do.
Sure enough, less than a week later, we have a cinematography wrestling encounter on WWE television that looks remarkably familiar.
Right. Because much like the Hardy segment, it was filmed literally in their backyard, on their property down in North Carolina.
Right.
And this was, outside on someone's property. It probably wasn't anyone's actual own property, maybe some place that WWE just used, whatever. But it was in the middle of it looked like a backyard or a wooded area or something like that.
Now,
eerily similar.
Yeah, and I think either way we were going to get that. I think there was a possibility of them doing it in sort of like a jest. Anything you could do, we could do better. And I think once they saw that it actually worked, that TNA actually inadvertently hit a home run, they said, oh shit, we better do this.
But this was not the final deletion. This was not.
I mean, it couldn't be exactly the same. There were tweaks to the formula, but suffice it to say, it was a carbon copy of Final Deletion.
It wasn't that same silliness. Final Deletion, they were shooting each other with giant Roman candles.
They literally threw everything at each other but the kitchen sink.
And quotable one-liners that were just hilarious.
Right.
And ridiculous.
There was talking. It was actually a match that was taking place with pinfalls and submissions as a possibility, whereas this was just an out-and-out brawl.
It was just a brawl.
But the elements were there, and I'm watching this and saying to myself, wow, you know what this is all remarkably like? Is those backstage and recorded segments that take place on Lucha Underground. Every week they do shit like this on Lucha Underground. And I connected the dots right away and said, wow, Lucha Underground's style of professional wrestling storytelling is starting to spill out into these other major companies.
Well, I could see how it's reminiscent of that. But obviously, it was the answer to the Final Deletion.
It was, but it's just funny. And you got to think, Jim Cornette's got to be fucking livid because the shit he was saying about Lucha Underground a few months ago, how it was disgraceful and how it had no place in professional wrestling, to now that WWE and TNA are both doing pretty much that same thing.
Yeah. Well, I would love for WWE to actually have more segments like this. Because if you're going to have these, some people are real-life characters, like a Dean Ambrose who's the champion, or it's like a guy, And then they have some of these gimmicks that are, you got your Wyatt and New Day that are a little bit over the top, When you have these film segments, you can put them in these almost comic booky situations to tell a story in a different way. So with this segment, we saw them brawl, and then they were able to use a whole crowd of people to show they were outnumbered by all these Wyatt family, whether they're members of the family or supporters or whatever it is, and it put them in the to be continued, next time, buy the next issue, and you find out what happens to the New Day, you know what I mean? That's a cool little right. Scenario.
Now, the WWE's product, by its nature, would have to go through a complete overhaul to be able to do this more regularly,
all the time. But every now and again, it wouldn't be so bad.
Lucha Underground is kind of built on this, and that's it's sort of innovated a certain sect of professional wrestling. Now, I don't know if you're probably not going to see like Dragon Gate and ROH run out and start doing this tomorrow. But
they don't have the production value for that.
But it's it's there though. Like this is an interesting way. Like almost kind of harkens to WMAC Masters and that kind of thing.
Oh my god.
But I like it. Obviously, it would be hypocritical of anybody that likes any one of these three things to not like the other two. Like,
sure.
Anybody that watched Total Deletion and said, "Oh, this is absolute stupid garbage," and then watched the Wyatts in the New Day and went, "Oh, this is so cool. WWE is so cool." Hypocritical. And if any of those scenarios come back to Lucha Underground saying, "Well, Lucha Underground's stupid because they do all this stuff," it's like you just watch that.
Right, got you. So the biggest thing that this did for me, not saying that I was in love with the segment by any means on Raw, like it was fine. But what I like about it and why I would want more of it is because I always talk about more backstage segments and things like that to show me the goings-on in this world. In this world of WWE, in this world of these characters and these wrestlers, I want to see interactions and things that happen that show me more of who these people are and their character and their place in this whole world. And something like that shows me, it gives me flavor. Now, instead of the Wyatts coming out, making empty threats and losing all the time, we have a segment where it's very much like you're in the Wyatts world. You're in their dungeon, and you see that they got the upper hand with what they can do and the powers they have. Like that adds flavor and that adds depth and stuff like that for more characters and for more segments like that. That's where it benefits.
Right.